Charles is not the pushover that the press seems to think he is, and that they're trying to present him as being. He has not been taking his son's calls for some time now. He will not be exploited by his son.
Harry has tried to make contact repeatedly, but William won't take his calls. He is not minded to a reconciliation at all.
Prince William and King Charles have reportedly both stopped taking Harry's calls. Neither of them wants to talk to him right now. And if you have been following the headlines, claiming that Charles is quietly engineering a reconciliation behind the scenes, preparing accommodation, softening the terms, this week's reporting suggests that picture was considerably more optimistic than the reality on the ground. Why is William furious enough to ignore his own brother? What manipulation tactic are Harry and Meghan reportedly pulling on a sick and aging king who simply wants to see his grandchildren? And what conditions has Charles set before he will even consider a genuine welcome back? We are covering all of it. Let's start with the immediate situation, because the timeline matters.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are preparing to return to the United Kingdom for their first joint visit in 4 years.
Harry and Meghan are expected to bring their children despite previously refusing to visit Britain as a family due to security concerns.
Harry and Meghan, along with Archie and Lilibet, were reportedly preparing for a visit to the United Kingdom tied to the Invictus Games countdown event in Birmingham, a rehearsal for the full games scheduled for 2027. The last time Meghan set foot on British soil was September 2022 for the Queen's funeral. 4 years. And the timing of this potential return was not accidental. With the A's Ever brand struggling commercially, Netflix having exited as the equity partner behind the lifestyle business, and their overall public relevance contracting rather than growing, proximity to the royal family remains the one move that could still generate the kind of global media attention their brand desperately needs. Harry's stated reason for wanting to bring the family was more personal.
Back on his own, because he's got stuff to do for Invictus, but part of this visit was actually going to visit the final resting place of Princess Diana. And what a beautiful thing that would be for the young kids particularly, to go and have some understanding of where their grandmother is now and who she was and all of that. But as I say, big question mark about whether it's happening.
A desire for Archie and Lilibet to meet the Windsor and Spencer families, to know their roots, to spend time with a grandfather whose health has been fragile and whose time, Harry reportedly feels, should not be wasted any further. That plan has hit significant obstacles, the most structural of which is security. Harry has been denied taxpayer-funded security in the UK. Without government-approved protection, Meghan has made clear she will not travel to Britain with the young ones. Harry reportedly believes his father could intervene to resolve the security question. The palace's consistent position is that protection is a government matter outside the king's personal authority to fix.
Because he's been denied his royal security protection. Now, he seems to have assumed he was going to get this. Of course, has been a battle now that's going on for many years. He's repeatedly said he will not return to the UK with Meghan and the children unless he has the full level of royal security. Now, he's been denied that yet again.
Understood that William has made his feelings about any reconciliation clear to his father. William is known to hold a grudge, and more than that, he cannot forgive his brother for what Harry has put his family through, one source.
While the security question was still unresolved, reports emerged that Harry was attempting to contact both William and Charles directly. And here's the part that cuts through the optimistic reconciliation headlines. William, by multiple accounts, is not picking up. Charles, who was widely portrayed in recent coverage as desperate for reunion, is reportedly not picking up either. William's position is the easier of the two to understand, even if it is not the easier one to sympathize with. The Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary series, the memoir Spare, each of those represented a specific, public, commercially motivated breach of the private trust that family relationships depend on.
So that's very good to hear that it's not just William who is rejecting Harry's phone calls, it's also Charles who is doing so. You're also, of course, completely right to point out that it's Harry who has massively capitulated here. Nothing has changed in terms of the security arrangements or the offer to stay at royal palaces. Those offers have existed previously. So Harry is the one who, in Tom Bower's words, is crawling back.
William watched intimate details of his own marriage, his own behavior, and his wife's emotional state published and broadcast for global consumption and significant financial return. He has reportedly concluded that any attempt at reconciliation creates the conditions for another version of exactly that, and that nothing Harry has done since suggests those conditions have changed. He has reportedly devised what his team considers an appropriate response to this situation: avoid contact entirely, not negotiate, not issue conditions, not open back-channel discussions, simply not engage.
No individual in this country is permitted to pay for security. That includes the king. So how all of a sudden is Charles paying for Harry's security? He's not paying for Harry's security. Harry's security is being paid for under the standard arrangements that were in place when he left.
Until the circumstances change in some way that makes engagement less likely to result in another Netflix documentary or a Spare Two.
While King Charles is said to be clearing his schedule to see grandchildren Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, whom he has not seen in 4 years.
Essence, that reads to me like he's almost using the grandkids as ammunition. Presumably the King and Queen Camilla desperately want to spend time with their grandkids. But now, unless this is overturned, the word is Harry will.
Charles is more complicated, and the complication is precisely where Harry and Meghan's critics say the manipulation is occurring. Charles is a father. He is also a king in declining health who, by multiple accounts, genuinely wants to see his grandchildren before the situation deteriorates further. Those two facts create a specific vulnerability, and the argument being made by commentators close to this story, including those who have studied the couple's strategy over years, is that Harry and Meghan are exploiting that vulnerability deliberately and with full awareness of what they are doing. The mechanism is straightforward. By making the grandchildren central to the visit narrative, by framing this as Archie and Lilibet coming to meet their grandfather, to know their roots, to form the relationship with a dying man that time is running out for, Harry is applying pressure specifically to the emotional register where Charles is most susceptible.
With new reports that Prince William is fuming over the fact that King Charles is, in his view, bending over backwards for the duplicitous duo, who says the UK visit next month is a source of deep frustration for Wills, and he's very annoyed about it. Prince William will not see Prince Harry and Meghan Markle when they return to the United Kingdom next month, Nicholl reports.
A sick and aging father who wants to see his grandchildren is not the same as a king weighing the institutional consequences of re-engaging with a son who has sold his family's private life multiple times for commercial gain. By presenting this as primarily a story about them and grandparents rather than about two adults' unresolved conflict, the framing bypasses the legitimate institutional concerns and appeals directly to the personal grief. If that framing is deliberate, and the reporting suggests it is a sophisticated piece of emotional leverage.
According to a well-placed source, William believes his brother crossed a line in both his 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey and his autobiography Spare, in which he shared, among other things, intimate details about his and Meghan's relationship with Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales.
Whether you call it manipulation or simply strategic communication depends entirely on how charitably you read the intent. Harry's housing situation in the UK deserves plain statement because it clarifies why the calls are happening in the first place. He has no home in Britain. He was evicted from Frogmore Cottage in 2023, shortly after Spare was published. He attempted to stay at Windsor Castle and was turned down. Charles offered him a royal residence during a 2024 visit, and Harry declined it, reportedly because the locations were too visible, too likely to generate the kind of media presence that would complicate the visit.
If there is a meeting, and there is a lot of speculation as to whether there will be a meeting or not, and it's quite possible there won't be a meeting, but it is also equally possible that there will be a meeting. And
But your point is, don't take a meeting as a suggestion that Charles has completely capitulated to Harry. Because
That's
you're
right.
saying indeed he has not.
He now has no guaranteed place to stay in his home country, requires 28 days notice just to visit his own father, and is surprised the relationship feels distant. That 28-day requirement is worth noting specifically. It is not a policy applied uniquely to Harry as a punishment. It is the framework the institution developed to manage the security and logistics of visits by members of the royal family who are no longer working royals. Harry is subject to it because of the choices he made. The choices he made are documented. The 28-day window is the institutional consequence. Despite the current standoff, most reporting agrees that some form of brief meeting between Harry and Charles remains possible if the visit proceeds. But the terms being described are a long way from the reunion the Sussex press operation has been positioning. No cameras, no reporters, no documentation of any kind that could subsequently appear in a streaming production or a follow-up memoir. A private father and son moment, strictly bounded, specifically designed to prevent any content from the conversation reaching a commercial platform. Charles has reportedly been explicit about this condition, and it is not difficult to understand why. The institutional calculus is also clear. Both William and Charles, despite their different emotional dispositions toward the current situation, are united on the underlying priority: protect the monarchy.
Was that it's not a commercial trip at all, so there'll be no selling of jam and no keynote speeches from Harry during this trip. So those are the rules, so no shenanigans.
William's approach to protecting it is to refuse engagement entirely until the terms change. Charles's approach is to consider limited, controlled engagement on conditions that minimize the risk of further damage. Both approaches represent the same underlying conclusion: that the unconditional welcome Harry appears to be seeking is not available, and that his calls going unanswered is the clearest possible communication of that fact. The question the public keeps asking, and the one that this week's reporting does not resolve, is whether Harry's desire for reunion is genuine or strategic. The most honest answer available is that it is probably both simultaneously, in proportions that nobody outside Montecito can accurately measure. A man can genuinely miss his father and simultaneously recognize that proximity to his father is commercially useful. Those two things are not mutually exclusive, and the fact that the visit serves Meghan's brand revival narrative does not automatically mean Harry's personal motivations are insincere. What the pattern of this couple's behavior does make clear is that every time a personal motivation and a commercial motivation have aligned, the commercial consequence has been the one that actually materialized. The personal reconciliation with the Queen produced nothing of record. The personal grief over Diana produced Spare. The personal sense of isolation produced Oprah. William and Charles are not refusing to answer the phone because they do not love Harry. They are refusing to answer the phone because they have learned through specific documented experience that answering it carries specific documented consequences. Family feelings in that context come second, not because either man is cold-hearted, but because the institution both of them have dedicated their lives to protecting has already paid a significant price for the assumption that family feeling would be enough. It was not enough. The phone goes unanswered. And for now, that is where it sits. Drop your take in the comments. Is Harry genuinely seeking reconciliation, or is this another strategy to stay relevant at a commercially critical moment? I read every single one. Hit that like button and subscribe. There is more coming this week.